Mourinho is not the special one. Hazard on a Chelsea return. Liverpool's Champions League clashes in doubt, a transfer roundup, and today's Friday Feels all coming up in the next few minutes. As I'm your host, Matt Froelich, you are the OneFootballers, and this is the Daily News. First off, and yes, so many of you have been asking Matt, what are your thoughts on Tottenham? What are your thoughts on the Tottenham-Chelsea game? And my God, I'm going to go into it in so much depth a little bit later on today. There will be a whole video dedicated to everything going wrong at Spurs at the minute. But last night, you've got to give some credit to Thomas Tuchel. After just 3 games at Chelsea, his team haven't conceded a goal and they've picked up 7 points out of a potential 9. And going away to Spurs in the London derby and picking up all 3 points, the credit not only has to go to him for the result, but also for the way they played as well. Spurs were lackluster, they were very uninspiring, I think is the key word here, and really had nothing going forward apart from a Carlos Vinicius header late on. As for Chelsea, they were on the front foot, they dominated, and some really promising signs after the sacking of Frank Lampard. As for Mourinho, like I said, I'm going to go into it later, he just looks washed up. He just looks like footballers left him behind, and there is no sort of room for his tactics within the players that he's got, within the club, or really within the footballing world at all. There are so many teams who are able to easily pick off Spurs, to dominate them, and to force their own game onto the Tottenham side, and they just do not know what to do with it. It almost looks like they're so busy defending with so much energy that as soon as they get the ball, they're just too knackered to go forwards. Literally, relying on Kane and Son is, well, most teams rely on their best players, but it's got to the point where without them, Spurs are just completely and utterly lost. Anyway, instead of focusing on that negative, I did want to focus on the positive, which is Chelsea, and like I mentioned, how well they're doing under Thomas Tuchel. On top of this, there's really good signs for England as well, with the likes of Reece James, Callum Hudson-Odoi and Mason Mount all having really good games, and getting into a Tuchel team where it was thought that the likes of Kai Havertz would definitely be his number 1 guy. Certainly after seeing Mason Mount drop from the whole squad together for Tuchel's first game last week, it looked like things could be a little bit ominous, but no. He's back in the side, playing fantastically well, and in my opinion, Mount is probably the best performing player from Chelsea this season. Anyway, moving on and to a rather bizarre story surrounding Eden Hazard, the potential return to Chelsea, and honestly, I think it's a lot of rubbish, but there is some problems with him at Real Madrid. I only just looked up the stats, and I did not know that since moving to Real Madrid in 2019, his dream move, Eden Hazard's only played 35 games. 35 games in a year and a half and scored 4 goals. Like, goals aren't the complete representative of how well this fella's gone at Real Madrid, but seriously, he's just not fit enough, and apparently a few of the club doctors at Real Madrid are worried that he's in this terrible cycle of continuously getting muscular problems. He gets an injury, he gets some rehabilitation, steps back on the pitch because Real Madrid need him, and then, well, you've got to use a lot of muscles whilst you're playing football at an elite level, and he just injures them again and gets back into this cycle that's just never ending. Every single time he does it, it's a knock on his confidence, it's a knock on Real Madrid's belief in what he can bring to the team when he is fit, and also it's a knock on his price tag. There was one report coming out of Spain, which I find hard to believe, that Chelsea are interested in sealing a return for Eden Hazard at a cut price of around 40 to 50 million euros. I just can't see it happening because I'm not sure where he's going at Chelsea. Like, they've moved on. They've spent the money they got for him, they've brought in some fantastic new players, and things are really looking up, so why they'd want to go in and bring in an injury-prone, what is he, 30 now, 31-year-old, doesn't really make sense to me. It's literally what Spurs have done with Bale, and it hasn't worked, so I'm not so sure Chelsea should follow suit and bring in Eden Hazard. As for whether he should or should not move, well, a few people have been having their say, including Dimitar Berbatov, who thinks that Real Madrid should sell him. He never played for Chelsea or for Real Madrid, and I'm not quite sure what he's doing, well, I'm not quite sure why we'd put any weight into what he's saying, but hey, he knows a thing or two about playing some good football. Moving on then, and to something slightly odd off of the pitch, and it's Liverpool's clash with Leipzig in the round of 16 in the Champions League. That is set to take place in about 10 or 11 days' time from now, and Liverpool have been rejected the chance to fly into the country. Germany have banned all flights from England with a few exceptions, and Elite Sport does not fall under those exceptions. So it means that Jurgen Klopp's men will not be flying to Leipzig and will not be able to take them on in the Red Bull Arena. This, though, all falls on Leipzig. The reason being is because they are the German club, and Germany are the ones who are not letting Liverpool into the country. As the host team, they have to find something, otherwise they will forfeit the game. I'm trying to rack my mind and think of a time when a game has been forfeited in the Champions League. I can't really think of one. Anyway, If Leipzig do, they don't forfeit the tie just to match 3-0, which then means that in the return leg, they'll have to go to Anfield and overturn a 3-0 deficit. I'm not even sure if away goals count, because technically they do, because it's 3-0 away win, but then again, they weren't actually scored. Who even knows? My one question with this is, without getting into Corona and COVID-19 too much, is that obviously there's a worry that the Liverpool players will bring some sort of Corona into Germany against Leipzig. But if they go and play against each other anywhere, whether it's in Denmark, in neighbouring Belgium, Scotland, I don't know, they're still going to be playing each other and still going to have that risk of giving COVID to each other. And then when Leipzig go to Liverpool and then fly back in, what's going to happen there? I don't know. This is all for UEFA to sort out. Anyway, things are looking not so good for Leipzig. And as we said with Liverpool, it would actually, considering that Klopp's been complaining about tiredness recently, be pretty good if the game does get forfeited, because it'll give them a few days extra rest in between some tough Premier League games. Next up then, a quick roundup of the rest of the transfer news and just regular news that you might have missed. Well, West Ham are still interested in En-Nesyri, the Sevilla striker, who they'll go back in for in the summer. Atletico Madrid forward Luis Suarez has spoken out about his best friend Lionel Messi and said that he is completely happy at Barcelona. Jan Bednarek and David Luiz, who both received red cards over the midweek games, well, they've had vastly different outcomes. Bednarek's red card against Manchester United has been overturned, whereas David Luiz's hasn't. I'm mind blown. I just don't get it. I was looking on the internet for the official explanation and I can't find one. Bednarek tripped Martial, red card, overturned. David Luiz apparently did the same to, what was it, Jose at Wolves, and it didn't get overturned. Honestly, I'm absolutely baffled. If anyone knows why one was overturned and no one wasn't, please let me know in the comment section down below. And lastly but not least, a big shout out to Cristiano Ronaldo. Today he turns 36 and he's not just going strong, doing well for his age, he's still smashing it. He's still top goal scorer in Serie A, still one of the best players, if not the best in Europe on his day, and still looks at the top of his game at the age of 36. Most top players would have retired or been back where they started in a smaller league by now, but nope, not Cristiano. Unbelievable. On top of this, it really is a day for footballing royalty and their birthdays, as both Neymar and Carlos Tevez also have their birthday today too. Right then, let's move on to the last bit of the daily, and that is Friday Feels, where you guys leave your footballing predictions down below in the comment section, and we read out a few of the correct ones on Monday. Again, I feel like I'm saying this every Friday. It's another massive week of football. Of course it is. Right. First off, and I'm going for Barcelona to continue some good form and pick up a 2-0 away win at Betis. Next up, and I think things are going to go from bad to worse at Marseille with all the nonsense around AVB during the weekend. They draw in midweek. They host PSG on Sunday night. Just when you think things couldn't get worse, I'm going to go for a 4-1 victory to PSG. And of course, the big game in the Premier League this weekend sees Liverpool host Manchester City. Liverpool's home form as late has been very poor, and Manchester City have just won 13 in a row. I'm not saying that not anything couldn't happen. We could see all sorts of results, but based on their recent form, I'm going for a 3-1 victory for Manchester City. So there you have it. You guys let me know your Friday feels down below. Check out everything else we've got going on OneFootball. And like I mentioned, look out for my rant on Tottenham later on today. But until next time, I will see you guys later.